I want to welcome everyone to today's webinar, taskTracker and Social Distancing. Today we're going to go over how taskTracker can help you communicate with your staff even though there are so many restrictions on what we can do and how close we can gather. I expect that this webinar will take between 30 and 45 minutes, and I'll be your host, Jamie Sharp, and I'll be walking you through some of these features of taskTracker. The first thing we want to talk about is just COVID-19 and just give an overview of what the situation was as of today. And these numbers are already out of date. But when I produced this slide, there was 855,000 confirmed cases of COVID around the world. And currently the United States is leading the charge with 186 cases, and that is continuing to still grow. One of the big things that we're all waiting for is for that growth to kind of slow down, flatten out, and hopefully start to decline. And from what we understand from what's happening over in China and Korea and even Italy, once that starts to happen, we can start getting back to some normalcy. But currently, we don't know how long that is going to take, and it seems like the best remedy to prevent the healthcare systems from being overwhelmed or prevent our staff from all coming down with this virus at the same time and not being able to perform our duties is social distancing and isolation is currently the best method for avoiding the virus. So basically we're going to be stuck with this social distancing, and that's probably going to be the new norm. We don't know how long. There's a lot of talk about a vaccine being made, but experts estimate that that's going to be a year to a year and a half. Some estimate it'll be shorter, but that is a what if, and it's completely unknown. The other option is the majority of the population has contracted the virus and has developed a natural immunity. So we have this herd immunity as we go out back into the work. Obviously, the virus cannot spread as easily. When one of those two things happen, then I think we can get back to a lot of normalcy. But again, that timeline is unknown. So we've really got to prepare to how do we social distance ourselves. So what are some good strategies for social distancing? Well, we see a lot of times that break room is a common gathering area. And during this time, that paradigm is going to have to shift. And you may have to hold meetings in outside areas or in large indoor areas. I've seen courses move their entire TV or the projector, or they do printouts and they move those out into the mechanics bay where the guys can spread out, keeping at least 6 feet of separation between them and a fellow coworker. I've seen pictures of guys outside in the morning doing their morning meeting out there. So that's a one major thing that you can do to go ahead and decrease the spread of this virus. The next thing is staggered start times and staggered lunch times for staff. And this is a little bit harder because we're used to doing that morning meeting with the staff. I know Gerald's used to doing that. And it looks like there may have to be 2, maybe 3, depending on the size of your staff and also the size of your break room or the area you're going to gather in, how many staggered starts you're going to have. So in Idaho, where we're at, Blaine County, currently we're leading the field in the concentration of COVID cases. I think we're at 1 in 200 for our small little valley, so it's quite concentrated here, and it's a very real problem. And for me, when this first started, it wasn't as nerve-wracking as it is when you become the epicenter for Idaho. You become very hyper aware of protecting yourself and protecting your community, protecting your staff. And these staggered start times, staggered lunch times are one way to do that. The other is assigning that same piece of equipment to the same staff member every time. So I know staff members like to mix up their jobs, they like to have some variety, but during this time, you may have certain guys just do fairway mowing. You may have certain guys that are just doing bunker raking. You may have certain guys that are just doing greens mowing. And that's going to allow them to take that same piece of equipment. It gives them peace of mind that knowing they're the only people who are touching that. When they go home at night, they are a little bit more at ease that what they touched is what they brought onto that piece of equipment. Of course, sanitizing that equipment before and after is still the best practice. Even if the same person is using it, there are going to be other people who are going to brush up against it, touch it. So being able to sanitize that and provide sanitizing wipes or a solution to your staff to be able to sanitize their own equipment will go a long way in making them feel safe. The other thing is communicating via text, email, and the job board are going to be huge. We all like to get together face to face. We like to make that personal one-on-one contact. But with a large staff, it becomes very difficult to do that and time consuming. So using text and emails to communicate start times, any kind of information that you want to happen is going to be really paramount as you make your way into the normal season, or if you're just finishing up your season, to help with your staff cope with that. So after we've talked about that, how can taskTracker help with these areas? Well, the big thing is taskTracker has a mass emailing and texting function for employees. So if you're trying to send out mass communications, you can do it in one fell swoop. And I'm going to just go through and show you how to set that up in your taskTracker in the future slides. We can also send that job board. So that board that's on the TV can be sent to your staff. The beauty is if they've got a smartphone, they can look at that job board on their phone, follow along with you. They don't have to be right up on it. You can post second jobs. They can check that. They don't have to come into the break room or common area where everyone's at. They can check that right from outside, go get their stuff, and move on to their next job. And a subcategory is sometimes you want to kind of dole out what an employee can see. Well, we can set up the job board to show first jobs at first jobs at a certain time, and then second jobs at another time, and so on. So you're kind of feeding that out through the process. The next thing is in the elite version, you can assign the same piece of equipment to the same person. We have a function on there that depending on the jobs that you're assigning and who's assigned those jobs, it's going to assign the piece of equipment that that person has used the most. So you're always guaranteed to get the piece of equipment that you've used the most within this area of social distancing and trying to use that same equipment. They're going to get that same piece every time. And then if we want to go a step farther, we can set up an actual employee mobile side where employees can log in. They can see their tasks for the day-to-day. They can also see their schedules. They can even punch in and punch out on that clock. So for us here at our club, one of the things is we have a common kiosk. Some people use the hand scanners. Those are very hard to keep sanitized. And during this time, we want everyone just to use their own devices, use their cell phones to clock in and clock out. And then we go ahead and transfer that to payroll. But it makes it very easy for the employee to be touching his only device and not doing something that's communal on a kiosk or other device like that. And then finally, we're going to show you how to assign these staggered schedules. So in taskTracker, there's a scheduling feature where you can assign these staggered schedules. So let's move into the first object, how taskTracker can help with mass emails and texting of employees. Okay, so we've got our employee management page up. If you're not sure how to get there, it'll be under employee management under your new section. Just click on that. It'll load your employees over here. Now the way we need to set up mass texting and email is we need to make sure we either have a cell phone number and or an email address in the contact information. And the way we can do that is we can look for each employee and we can look over here, and these icons indicate that we have a phone number listed for these two employees here. If I click into myself, we'll have some options at the top. We'll find contact, and we'll make sure we have a mobile number plugged in, and we'll also make sure we have an email. And this is kind of important for everyone in the United States and in Canada. The texting and email works anywhere else outside of the United States and Canada. Just the emailing portion will work at this time. So we'll enter that number and phone number, go ahead and hit Save Changes. Once you've done that, you've unlocked the ability now to message your employees. This is really handy if you need to get out certain information to them, whether it's related to this COVID or any kind of policies that's changing at your club, or if there's changing in your community. To be able to alert your employees and keep them up to date on what's going on also makes them feel very safe and secure in the work environment. So the way we set this up, if I've only got 3 people set up here with emails and cell phone numbers, so the more people that you have saved with text information or email, they'll populate here. If someone doesn't have a cell phone number, this will be grayed out. You can easily mass text your whole crew by clicking on this top button, and you'll see it'll autofill these people into the text. We can also send an email simultaneously to them as well. So if we're talking about maybe starting times and we want them to come in maybe at 6 a.m., we can go ahead and create that message right here. All right. So we've created that 6 a.m. starting time. And this is nice. Now, if we want to just send it to the blue group, we can do that using the filter. So we can go filter. We'll do our first group here. And we have now just texting our first group. You can see the 2 names are in the first group. So maybe I want to send them an individual message saying starting time is 6 and maybe lunchtime is 10 a.m. for lunch. So very easy to send them out. And then if I wanted to send out my purple group, I can change that to the second and go ahead and send that, and then hit that send message to send that to the individual people. So really handy to be able to use that, and this will come in very nicely when we show you how to go ahead and send out the job board. And the job board right here is really easy to send out, and let me show you a few steps on how to do that. All right, we're going to navigate to the workboard. So we'll go ahead and navigate up here to the workboard. And this is our current day. And we're going to want to make sure we're on the current day when we send out the link, because if we're on the current day, what that's going to do is every time the employee goes to that link, it's going to go to the current day. If you send out a link for the past day or a future day, that board will always stay on that day. It will never rotate to the next day. So it's important when you're going to send out a link, you send out the current day's link. So currently today is the 31st. That's the date I'm on. I'm going to go over here to the display board. I'm going to click on that, and you're going to see my display board comes up. I'm actually going to scroll this down so I bring the URL into view. This is what I want to copy to send to my workers. So I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to scroll this back. Now you can just send that link via an email. You can go ahead and text it. Some guys will go to you develop QR codes. You can find QR code programs online where you can create your own QR code, print it off on a piece of paper, and they can scan it and get the current job board for the day. So what I'm going to do here is first I'm going to go to my admin side. I'm going to go to my employee management so I can send out the links. I'm going to go up to my messenger, and I'm going to select the employees I want to send this link to, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that URL right into the message, and I'm going to go ahead and hit send. Once the employee has it, they can bookmark it, they can save it to their home screen, or they can just save it someplace where it's easy for them to get to, whether it's keeping it in their email and just clicking on it from day to day. Once you have that out, employees will be able to access the day's job starting at midnight, and that may or may not be something you want to do. So we have a feature in taskTracker that allows you to kind of hold back on those jobs at certain times. I'm going to show you how that works right now. So I'm going to go back to Workboard, and I'm going to go into the 3 dots. There's more information here, and I'm going to go to Show Jobs. Now in the Show Jobs, I'm doing this demo pretty late. It's 9:44 p.m. I've got the first job to show at 9 p.m., the second job to show at 10 p.m., and then all jobs to show at 11. And what that means is that at 9 p.m. and before, there'll be no jobs on the job board. So if an employee looks at the job board at 8:30, those jobs will not be visible. But at 9 p.m., they will be. At 10 p.m., the second job, so the first and second jobs are going to go ahead and show. And then at 11 p.m., all jobs. So if I have any third, fourth, fifth, or sixth jobs assigned to employees, they'll be able to see those at 11 p.m. Now what's interesting, if I want to show this job earlier than 10, I can go in and select the new time I want to show and hit Save Changes. Or I can use this slider and just slide this over to Show Now so it's green. So it'll override that time and start showing those jobs instead of second jobs now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save it just to show the first jobs. Put this back to 10, hit Save Changes. I'm going to go back to my board. And right now it was on job 1 and 2. It's just going to show job 1 now. If I go back and I want to show jobs 2, I can go ahead and hit Show Jobs, and I can just flip this switch over, hit Save Changes, and the board's going to automatically refresh with the new data and show jobs 1 and 2. And you can see here we have jobs 1 and 2. Now, when you send out this link, you may not want employees to have this link throughout the entire season. You may want to revoke that link, or you may want to put a pin on there so you can change the pin and certain employees can have the new pin to see the job board. Now, how you're going to do that is you're going to go into Program Setup. You're going to go to these display board. You're going to go to display board keys and reset the key. When you reset the key, it'll automatically go ahead and rekey it, so your old job board that was here will no longer work, and the employees who had access to that will no longer have access. Another option here is you can go ahead and put a pin. So I'm just going to put 6789. I'm going to add that. When I do that and I go back to my work board and I hit refresh, now that board's required to have a pin, 6789. I go ahead and hit submit, and now that board will work. The employees won't have to enter that pin every single time. They'll only have to enter that once unless the pin changes, and they'll have to re-enter the new pin. So keep in mind when you do reset the display board keys that you will have to reset your TV, because your TV will no longer have the valid key to go along with that. The other thing I want to talk about while we're back here in the program setup is the jobs and showing those jobs at a certain time. Now, for a lot of you, you may only see that job option has just show all jobs, this last one, and a time there. If you want to have jobs 1, 2, 3, or 4, you need to set that up in the program setup. So you'll go back to program setup. You'll go to display board. You'll go to manage, and you'll go ahead and add a job. Currently I have job 1 set to be a default of 7 a.m. So every board that I create going forward will assume the default of 7 a.m. and a second job at 9 a.m. and then show all jobs at 10 a.m. So setting these defaults are important just to kind of get the general idea, so you don't have to go and change those times every single day on the job board. To add a job, you go ahead and click Add Job. I'm on my third job. I can set it to show at 10 a.m. and then I can hit Save Changes. So now we have the option to show job 1, 2, 3, and then all jobs from there. So really easy to set this up. One of the biggest things that I do see is once you get this set up, and if you forget that you have it set up and you come in and there's employee names but there's no jobs by there, there's a good chance that your job 1 display board time has not reached the time limit yet, and you need to go ahead and adjust that. So just keep that in mind if you do see that happen on your job board. Okay, we've seen how to do the mass emailing, texting, how to set up that job board, and even how to control what jobs are being seen. The next one is how do we assign that same piece of equipment to the employees. And this is going to be in our elite version, and I want everyone who's listening today who has taskTracker to know that if you don't have the elite version, us at taskTracker want to make sure that you're providing the best environment for your employees, because they are the most important asset to the golf club. They need to stay healthy in order to maintain that course, in order to have a great golf experience down the road, July, August, if that's what we're aiming for. So we want to keep them healthy. For those who don't have the elite or even have the basic and these features that are in some of the premium versions. We're happy to upgrade everyone for free if they want to through July 1. We'll go ahead and reevaluate at July 1 to see if this is still needed. But we're happy to upgrade anyone who needs to use some of these features to help keep your staff safe. We just want you to give us an email. You can email me at jamie at advancedscoreboards.com. That's JAIME at advancedscoreboards.com, and we'll be happy to get you turned on and upgraded. So let's cover how to set up the smart equipment. Okay, I'm back at my workboard, and we want to start assigning equipment. Now this is an elite version feature, but if you've got premium or basic, you can still assign equipment. The way you do that is you assign it in the notes. So for Rye, I could click this down area and I can say, okay, I want you to take Greensmaster. Maybe you have a naming convention GM1, and now Rye is going to be taking GM2. Maybe Lucas, maybe we'll assign him GM2, and maybe we'll go to Lucas, we'll assign him GM3, and we can go ahead and hit save. Now on the workboard, that's going to show up just like this in their notes. So if I look at Lucas, we're going to see we assigned him GM3. Now if you're actually assigning equipment, you'll get a little green bubble here, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So I'm going to head back. If you're in the elite version, all you have to do is click on this gear symbol. It's going to bring up our equipment. Now this Toro Greensmaster is favorited to come up every time we mow greens, so we don't have to search through our entire fleet of equipment. But if the right piece of equipment isn't here or this page is blank, you can go to all equipment and you can search through all of your equipment. So maybe I also want to include this Reelmaster when I assign greens. I want that to be open, so I can click that star. It'll be a favorite. This is great when you have a bunch of different types of utility carts, to be able to have all the utility carts as a favorite when you're doing a job like irrigation or dragging fairways or walk mowing greens, to be able to assign utility carts. I'm going to turn that off for now, and I'm going to move back to favorite. And we've currently got these assigned, so I'm just going to erase these so I can just show you how to assign these pieces of equipment. So I'm starting with Rye. It's very easy. I can just go ahead and give him number 2, I can give Lucas number 3, and I can give Joe number 4. And I simply clicked on them to assign those jobs, and I hit add equipment. And when I hit save, you can see here these green gears indicate that that piece of equipment's been assigned. I can hover over and see what piece of equipment that is. Now, as we were mentioning earlier, it's important that we try to assign the same piece of equipment to the same person every time. So we want to always make sure Lucas gets GM number 3 in this Toro Greensmaster. So we can do a couple of different ways of doing this. I'll show you the first one is we can actually label that GM3 to be Lucas's. So when we're assigning equipment, we know that goes to Lucas. So the way we do that is we go to our equipment management. This is all of our equipment here. Maybe I'm going to look for Greensmaster here. I'm going to do a search through our inventory. Here's our Toro Greensmaster, and I believe it's this one here. Let me look at favorited tasks. Yes, mow greens. And Lucas was number 3, so I want to make sure he's going to be labeled number 3. And we're under the unit info, and I'm going to hit edit details. And in this short description, I'm going to give this Lucas as a short description. Now, normally this is in there, like if you want to designate maybe a triplexer for tees versus approaches, or you want to designate a nursery green versus from your regular greens, or maybe you have a green that requires a different mow height. You can label that mower to say this is for green number 4, but we're going to give this strictly to Lucas, so I'm just going to hit save. I'm going to go back to the workboard. I'm going to go back to Lucas here. Click on that gear, and now you're going to see that GM3 has Lucas by his name. So I may go through and label this for Rye, and I may label this for Joe as number 4. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to go ahead and erase this information here. The other way to do it is to use our Smart Equipment feature. Now, our Smart Equipment feature looks at your past history and sees what piece of equipment has been assigned to that person the most. So it doesn't matter who's been on that equipment or what you're assigning that day. If Lucas and Joe are mowing greens today and then it changes to Ivan and Harvey the next day, it's going to look and see what Ivan and Harvey have done, and it's going to compare those against each other and assign the piece of equipment that they've used the most and try to get the best match there. And the way we do that is we go up to the gear in the top, and what we're going to see is we're going to see all of our jobs that we have assigned for the entire day. So we have job 1, we scroll down, and we have job 2 down here. And the way I'm going to assign equipment here is the first thing I'm going to look at is see what my favorite pieces of equipment are. So every piece of equipment every job that has a star is going to be assigned using the SMART algorithm. If it doesn't have a star next to it, the system's not going to know what piece of equipment it's going to assign, so it's not going to do it. But we're going to assign Toro Greens Master here. Here we're doing the Reel Master. Here we're doing the John Deere 8900. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run Smart Equipment, and it's going to go through and it's going to automatically assign those people that equipment. And you can see Rye got 2, Lucas got 3, and Joe got 4. If I erase this and I do it again, it's going to give them the exact same piece of equipment. So if someone else gets thrown in the mix and it's a new person like Ron in there mowing greens, then it's going to look and see if Ron's used GM2 more than anyone else, and if he has, he's going to get that piece of equipment. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply changes. And the nice thing is we've just assigned our equipment for the entire day, basically in a couple clicks. I'm going to save that information. I'm going to move up here, and this is going to refresh, and it's going to show all the jobs on all the equipment that have been assigned. So really easy to make sure people are getting the same piece of equipment. The other thing I just want to talk about is someone doesn't have the equipment module yet, or maybe has the equipment module but hasn't entered equipment. It's just how do you add those new pieces of equipment? And that's really easy to do. So we go into our equipment management piece. We assign everything based on the type. So we need to create a type, and then we create units. So here we go add new equipment. And just so we can follow along, I'm just going to give this a Toro, and I'm just going to call this Jamie's test so we know where it's at. I'm going to give it a short jam of JT. This is going to be what shows on the job board. And then I'm going to give it average equipment hours per hour worked as a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning if it goes out 8 hours, it assigns 8 hours to the hour meter. I'm going to hit add equipment. The next thing it's going to have me do is just add units. So if I've got 3 of these, I'm going to add the unit IDs. And this can be A, B, C, or it can be 1, 2, 3, or however you do your ID identification. And then we go ahead and add, and there we go, Jamie test. I've just added my piece of equipment. Now I'm ready to start assigning. If I want to go and individually add those short description, I click on the unit, hit the edit details, and I can add the short description here. All right, that's how you assign equipment. We'll move on to the next part. Okay, so we've seen the smart equipment. Now we want to set up our employee mobile. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my phone. I'll have a screen share with my phone and the setup process, and I'll walk you through how we can set up an employee mobile for the employees. All right, we're back at our application. We're on that workboard side, and we want to set up the employee mobile so employees can see what jobs they have for the day. There's some other benefits that come along with it. They can use that as a time clock. So if you're worried about employees using the same time clock to clock in and out of, that's also a place for congregation. Using the employee mobile allows them to clock in right from their phone. And so they're using their device. They're keeping any kind of maybe germs or bacteria to themselves. They're not spreading it to other people through the time clock. And also they're protecting them. So if someone does get sick, you don't potentially affect your whole work crew who's clocking in on that one computer. The second is they can also clock into jobs, and that's going to allow you to know where they are throughout the day. So very easy to manage that way. If they do this correctly, you can even import those times and use those in your reporting. And the third thing is they can see their schedules and write you notes about their schedules, request days off. You could even track other things as far as sick days and that kind of stuff. So really handy to have the employee mobile set up. So if you want to start using the employee mobile, and this is in premium and above, we're going to go to equipment management. not equipment management, excuse me, we're going to go to employee management, and we're going to look at the employees here. And I'm going to move my phone over here, and you're going to see that I have my mobile login, and I can see there's one person set up with mobile login, and that's me. I haven't set anyone else up, so we'll use me as a guinea pig because it's very easy to do that. So I'm going to set myself up by clicking on my name. I'm going to go over to mobile. I can give myself a username, and I can give myself a password. And some clubs give everyone a unique username, and then it's always the same password. It makes it very easy. First superintendent said, okay, Steve S, your username is Steve S1, and your password is test1234. Now, we don't recommend test1234, but recommend something that's going to be secure, and you can give all the employees the same password if you'd like. However, a more secure way to do that is to send the employee an invitation. So if you have an email address already in there from the contact, from the messaging part, it's going to flow right over here, and you can just send out an invitation for the member to sign up. And they can look for the taskTracker email. It may be in their junk, it may not be, but they can go ahead and click in there, fill out their username, give themselves a password, and then they can get off and running. There are some permissions that you can allow to happen on the phone. The first one is to allow them to use it, to allow them to even log in with the employee mobile version, and that's this first one. If we click that off, that means I would not be able to log in with my phone anymore. The ability to clock in and out for the day, so if you don't want them to use it as a time clock, you can turn that off. You can even turn if they can start and stop task off on it. And then if you get into equipment and equipment management, they can do a bunch of other stuff in there, which is beyond the scope of this webinar. Now for me, I've got it all set up, and this is the phone over here, and you can kind of see that I have some options. I can look at my time clock, and I can click in there, and I can see the jobs that I have assigned for me today. Now keep in mind, this works along with the job timer, so if I can only see job number 1, only one job is going to show up for me, which is MOTs. And I can look down here and see I'm assigned the RMA to go ahead and use, and down below I have the TW1 for my irrigation work. So I get to see everything here at a glance. I can also see any mowing patterns that we have, any notes that are assigned. So maybe I'm the purple team and I'm supposed to come in at 6 a.m. and I have lunch at 10 a.m. I can see that. And then any geo notes that I take out on the course and you share with the job board, the employee can see those geo notes as well from here. Now if I want to use this as a time clock, I can easily click to clock in. I can clock into a job, start that job off, which is very nice. What that's going to do is it's going to allow you as a manager to see where the employee is. So you can see here that I've clocked in for the day, so I'm here, I'm on property, and you can see I'm already starting to mow tees. This is kind of nice, especially if not everyone's meeting after lunch and then you're sending everyone out, to monitor where everyone is during the course of the day, if they've moved on to their second job or if they're still on their first job. And if you've got your job board up, that's also going to show here too. So you can see here that I'm clocked into mowing tees. I've got a little icon right here that says I've clocked into mowing tees. Now if I clock out, I just simply click the square button, the red one, and it turns green, and I can clock out for the day, and then I'm done. And I can even actually use this 44 seconds in my reporting if I choose to, which is beyond the scope of this, but you can use that. And if I look at my settings here, it's very easy for me to see, I've clocked out of this job and I've clocked out for the day, so I've left for the day. So easy to keep track of what the employee is doing and where they're at throughout the process of the day. So that's how you set up the mobile system. There's one other little caveat to mobile, and you've got to check this. You may set this up and you're like, I still can't get in. There is a global setting back in program setups. We want to go back there. We're going to want to go to employees. We're going to want to go to general. We're going to want to go to kiosk and mobile, and there's this kiosk and mobile settings. I want to hit change, and we want to make sure allow login on mobile is clicked on. This is a global setting, so what that means is that if I turn this off, no one is allowed to use mobile on my crew until this is turned on. So this has to be turned on and working in order to be able to log in. So that's another common thing I get. A lot of people set this up and they can't log in. They just got to flip this switch to make sure it's turned on. And again, that's in program setup under general and kiosk and mobile. And if you can't remember all those steps, you know it's under kiosk. You can always go up to the search and type kiosk in here, go down to here, and it'll highlight and you're like, oh yeah, there it is. Change, and go ahead and make that change. So that's how you set up the mobile version. Okay, so we saw the mobile. Now we're going to look at the staggered starts for the employee schedule, and there's a couple ways we can do this. One, we can use the scheduler built into taskTracker, or we can use our color codes on our employees to set those as a staggered start. And so what we'll do is we'll hop over to our application. I'll show you both methods, and you can choose which one's best for you. Okay, we're back at our general screen here, which is the workboard, and we want to talk a little bit about staggered starts. And I've already kind of got it set up a little bit how I want to do the staggered starts with color codes. So color codes is a great way to do a staggered start, and you can see here I have some employees that are blue and I have some employees that are purple. If I click on my add employees, they're kind of listed by first group and second group right here, so I can definitely see maybe the second group's going to come in later than the first group. And the nice thing about the job board is when it shows, the employees can see which color group they are, and you can actually put a general note down here saying, okay, the purple team today is coming in at 7 a.m., blue team means 6 a.m., and the blue team is coming in at 7 a.m. And the way we do that is we just go to our general notes, put in your general settings right here what the purple and blue team are going to be coming in, and then that'll show every day that job board's up. So if it changes week to week, you can change it on Sunday to have the blue team come in early and the purple team to come in later. The way we set that up is we can go to employee management, and I'm going to go ahead and save this information that we have. And we can see here's our groups. The way we change a group is we click on the employee and we go to groups and we find the group that we want. So I have a couple color codes in here, first and second group, and I select the group that I want and go ahead and hit save. Now, if your taskTracker doesn't have colors or you want to create more colors, we can do that in program setup. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to program setup. We're going to navigate over to employees, and we're going to find the employee groups and hit add group. And here we can give it a name. Maybe we have a third color group, so maybe this is our third group. Maybe we've got a big crew. We want to select a special color for this group. We can select from the pre-planned colors right here, or we can select a custom color by clicking on the plus, using the slide bar to find our perfect color for our third group, and maybe they're going to be the rust colored. Go ahead and hit save. Save that information, and now I have a third group. So when I go back to employee management, I can create a third group for these employees. Save. And if I go back to my workboard, now I can reassign based on those color groups. So you can see here Rye is in our third group. The next option would be for us to go ahead and create an actual schedule for the employees. And I've already started some schedules here, and you can kind of see them popping up right now. So here's myself. I've got a 7:30 start time, and then I've got Ivan starting at 6:30. And the way we create a staggered schedule in taskTracker is we go to employee management, we go to scheduler, and currently the schedule is going to pop up. This is the schedule I have for my crew. To create a new shift, I get add shift. I select the time I want to do, so if maybe it's a 6:30 shift, select 6:30. It's going to be 8 hours. There are some recommendations that you work the crew maybe a 10-hour day. You probably already do that, but to try to work 10 hours and split the crews up by days, so you've got them coming in 4 days a week instead of 5, but we'll just go ahead and work them 8. And we just click on the people that we want to go ahead and assign. And if you ever need to switch someone, you just drag and you switch them. It's very easy to do that. If I want to change to another shift, I can hit 7. and I can click on the people who will be coming in at 7 o'clock. Now you can see we're on Thursday. I've got schedules for these people here. If I go back to my work board, it's actually going to show me what their schedule is. So I know who the morning people are going to be, and I know who the afternoon people are going to be, or the late shift is going to be. Even when I go to my add employees, it's going to show me every employee that has a schedule with this icon and the time that they're supposed to be showing up on property. And if I want to, I can just click import schedule, and it'll import all of those people that have schedules on the scheduler into my job board for me to start assigning information. Now the great thing is that if you have the employee mobile set up, employees can use that. I'm going to bring my phone in here. Employees can use that to see what their schedule is. So if they go back to their main menu and they want to look at their schedule for the day, they click on schedule. I can see I'm working 6:30 to 3:30 today, and maybe tomorrow I'm not feeling well and I'm going to go to the doctor's. I can actually pull up my schedule. I see who's working, and I can actually send a note saying not feeling well, and I'm going to go to the doctor, and I can go ahead and submit that. And the nice thing is when you go back to your employee management and you want to look at your scheduler, you're going to see you have an alert up here, and I can say, oh, Jamie sent me a alert. Click on that. I'm not feeling well. Go to the doctor. I'm going to say okay, and send a message back to the employee, and you're good to go there. And all those notes are cataloged right here, so if you need to go back and look at them, you can see whatever note that you want to see. So that's a little bit about the scheduler. It's nice that the employees can see, again, when they're working. There's not a communal place where they're actually going to find their schedule like a piece of paper. They just know by their phone, or if you're using the color system, they can go ahead and use that color system in order to figure out when they're working. And you can send out a mass email or text to those employees that day saying blue team's early, purple team's late, and here's your lunch times. Makes it very easy for the employees to know what's going on. So that's a little bit about the scheduler. All right, I want to thank everyone for joining us. This is a recording, so I won't be able to take questions, but you can go ahead and email me at any time if you have any questions about your current taskTracker setup, or if you're even interested in getting taskTracker to help with social distancing. Gerald or I are always available for questions. Feel free to give us a call or email us. You can find our phone numbers on advancedscoreboard.com.